Hey guys, this is Zapsy and Bam Adebayo and Hassan Whiteside. Think of that as a front court. But guys, please subscribe and turn on post notifications for more content from me. Also do that just so you can join the Zap regime. In the 2015-2016 season, the Miami Heat finished with a record of 48-34 and were the third seed going into the playoffs. The Miami Heat were 9th in defensive rating and 5th in points not allowed. This last season, the Miami Heat began the season 11-30 in their first 41 games, and then suddenly they turned it around. This is all because of Erik Spoelstra and his excellence and everything that the Heat players did. Like, all of a sudden they started playing like basketball gods. And from January 17 to February 10th, the Miami Heat went on a 15-game winning streak. They beat the Warriors and the Rockets during this winning streak, and people were losing their minds. The Heat looked like they would make the playoffs, but ultimately they failed and fell out of the playoffs because of a tiebreaker with the Chicago Bulls. The Heat finished the season 30-11, much different from the beginning of the season, and their starting lineup could match almost every other starting lineup in the NBA. The bench players were putting up numbers as well. Their starting lineup wasn't the greatest, but they were going against other starting lineups much better than them and competing quite well. They finished the season with a record of 41-41 and were 5th in defensive rating and 5th in points not allowed. Much like the previous year, the Heat were a good defensive team. Coming into the season, people were looking for the Heat to tank, especially with the team losing 5, even 6 straight games before victory from time to time. And during this time, people were mainly talking about Lonzo Ball, even Josh Jackson going to the Heat, and maybe even Fultz if the Heat played that badly. It was just crazy at the beginning of the season. The Heat's players are valuable in their own way, and the discussion of trading Goran Dragić so that he could bring in Lonzo Ball was unbelievable. Goran Dragić and Hassan Whiteside are the main pieces for the Heat, especially after what happened with Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade. Even Dion Waiters stepped up. No one expected Waiters to have a big jump this year, but he was ultimately the difference maker during the second half of the Heat season. He had the second best scoring output of his career, where he averaged 15.8 points per game. The highest scoring output he's had in his career was his second year, and he had 15.9 points per game. And the Heat were amazing, and that's something you can't take away from them. During their winning streak, this was their starting lineup: Goran Dragić, Dion Waiters, Rodney McGruder, Luke Babbitt, and Hassan Whiteside. Think of that. I mean, this starting rotation is 60% complete, and they were winning games. After all, this is the Heat, and they ended up with the 14th pick, and they drafted Bam Adebayo from the University of Kentucky. At Kentucky, Bam averaged 13 points per game, 8 rebounds per game, and 1.5 blocks per game. This output will be beneficial to the Heat, who were running Luke Babbitt, James Johnson, Josh McRoberts as their starting power forwards. And the Heat needed a power forward, and they drafted one in Bam Adebayo. Bam wasn't expected to go this high in the draft, but the Heat wanted him and took him early. A front court of Bam and Hassan is a lot to think about, especially if you look at teams like the Sixers, the Bucks, and many other teams that have just tried to do a lot of stuff this offseason. If you look at the Bucks, they're trying to counter the Warriors with their length, and that's what the Heat is trying to do with their players. Erik Spoelstra was even talking about how he might at one point have a starting rotation of 6'9" and over players. Just think of that. The point guard, 6'9" and over. Shooting guard, 6'9" and over. Small forward, 6'9" and over. Power forward, 6'9" and over. And then you have Hassan Whiteside as the center. That's a scary lineup, and that really matches what the Bucks are doing. The same thing goes with the Sixers, who are having Ben Simmons. They want him to run the point. be the guy with the ball, and then you have everyone else on the team, and then you even have Joel Embiid, Dario Saric, and all those guys who can go off and get theirs, along with Robert Covington, who they might even run at shooting guard. Look at all that lengths that these teams are developing, and there are other teams on the other end that are trying to build like the Warriors. But these teams now, these teams in the Eastern Conference, I think they're doing something special, and that might be greater than what the Warriors have accomplished in the championships that they have won in 4 years, or 3 years actually. This might be better than what they have accomplished with their small ball lineup. The big man athletic lineup, that might be the way to go. The Bucks, the Sixers, and now the Heat are looking at this. Bam is 6'9", 242 pounds, and a 7'3" wingspan. A lot of people list him as 6'10", 250, but he's mainly roughly around 6'9 and a half, so I just put him at 6'9". And he's a good screener, good at rolling to the basket, has a nice mid-range jump shot, can defend the post, can defend the perimeter a little, and has a very good offensive rebounding game. And he can also do this and be with the Heat starting lineups. I mean, he could be with all types of lineup that Eric Spoelstra wants to run. If he wants to run that 6'9" and over every single player lineup, Bam can play it because he is 6'9". If he wants to do something else or put Bam in the starting rotation with Goran Dragić, Dion Waiters, let's say Justice Winslow, have Bam at the power forward position, and then you have Hassan Whiteside at center, Eric Spoelstra can do that as well. So the lineups you can run with Bam Adebayo is limitless. Well, there is a limit to how many players are on the team, but just think of it as you can run him with any rotation and he will make a difference because he can rebound, he can defend, and if he develops or expands his offensive game, he might live up to the potential of what people are comparing him to. He says that he models his game after Kevin Garnett, and the Heat are looking for him to become close or even ascend that of Kevin Garnett. A lot of people compare him to Dwight Howard. A lot of people are comparing his max to, let's say, Shawn Kemp. Who knows what potential Bam Adebayo has, but he does have a lot of it, and he is a muscular guy. You have him and Hassan Whiteside, and if you look at those two, you're thinking, man, I do not want to go into the paint if I have to deal with them. And so the Heat are all in with Bam, and the player who grew up in a trailer home raised by a single mother who worked before Bam was even awake until he was asleep. Bam played on a portable rim in the street and has become what he is today. The player who went on to average 30 points as a high school junior. Bam comes from humble beginnings, and he's playing to get his mother out of her current situation. He's playing for his family. Being raised by a single mother is something many NBA prospects share, but Bam grew up not in a house or even an apartment. So Bam has worked to get to this point, and it has paid off, and the Heat will be scary in years to come with the defense of Bam Adebayo and Hassan Whiteside. If you add that to how good the Heat are defensively in general, they can only improve. And Bam doesn't take days off and has an amazing work ethic. And this is what Kentucky staff have said about Bam. Bam is one of the first guys to practice every day. He's another guy that is just wanting to get better every day. He asks questions. He's inquisitive. He's a guy that's wanting to engage you in any way so you can help him get better. He's a guy that's listening. With someone, when you first get to know him, he's a very bright kid. That's the thing that I've been, and we as a staff have been most impressed with, is how much he wants to learn, how great he listens, and how much he wants to improve every day. Just think about that. Bam wants to improve every day, and if people are putting him as high as his ceiling can be Kevin Garnett, Dwight Howard, Shawn Kemp, and he wants to improve every single day, just think of how scary the Heat can be. And especially if you pair him next to Hassan Whiteside, who can learn from and who he's already planning to train with this offseason. Just think about how dominant the front court in Miami will be this upcoming season. A rookie will have a major impact, and this will be something that people will have to say. Bam will have the most impactful season of his career, and he might just grow from here as a player. You just gotta see what he will become. But right now, this is why I believe the Heat will be a scary team this upcoming season and for years to come. Because what they're trying to develop here in Miami is similar to what they're trying to do in Milwaukee and what they're trying to do in Philadelphia. And it's just having length, having big guys that can run, defend the perimeter, defend the post, can shoot. That's what these teams are trying to create. They're not trying to be other teams that are trying to copy the Golden State Warriors, because what the Golden State Warriors got was lucky. They drafted Stephen Curry, they drafted Klay Thompson, they drafted Harrison Barnes, they drafted Draymond Green, and then Kevin Durant came to the Warriors, and everything fell in place. Even before that, they were a super team. They won 73 in 9 games. Kevin Durant came to that, added on. They won a championship this last season. Teams should just develop how they feel they should develop. The Heat, they're doing that front court thing with Bam Adebayo, Justice Winslow, and Hassan Whiteside. The Bucks, their whole team, they're trying to make their whole team long, basically. And the Sixers, they got their point forward, they got their scoring guard, they got Robert Covington, they got Joel Embiid, who is looked at as the next Hakeem. And it's just crazy how the league is going. We got the moves by the Minnesota Timberwolves recently, acquiring Jimmy Butler. And if you look at that team, Ricky Rubio, who is a good defensive guard. You have Jimmy Butler, who is one of the best defensive guards in the NBA right now. You have Andrew Wiggins, who when he came into the league had so much defensive potential, but instead of that he has mainly relied on his offensive game. But you have Jimmy there that can help him realize what he came into this league with and help him work with it. And you also have Gorgie Jang and Karl Anthony Towns. That's some defense right there if everything can click. So the direction of the NBA is promising. The Warriors aren't going to last forever. When they fall, just know that these teams are going to come up. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed. Please smack that like button if you did, and subscribe for more content from me. This is Zapsy, and I'll see you guys in another one.